Check out the new turbo-powered 2025 Acura ADX SUV, only $38,350. Offer details, dial pound 250 and say, Jody Wilkinson Acura. Jody Wilkinson Acura, downtown.
You're free now. Free to fill your feed with impossibly chonky chonkers who chonk harder than you ever thought possible.
Cats, corgis, babies, baby penguins, baby pandas, chunky baby pandas.
Free to make your smart devices do silly things. Free to open a world of remote work and a portal into Gametopia.
Who's the boss now?
Free to be everything you imagine, and then some. That's how it feels to have Quantum Fiber Internet. Quantum Fiber, your world unleashed. Learn more at quantumfiber.com. Limited availability, service in select locations only.
All right, y'all. This is a super personal, super special episode for me, and I'm really excited to share it with you. If you're a parent with kids of any age, you're going to want to listen. We're talking with a couple of our good friends about how to talk to your kids about your recovery, and we invited my 16-year-old daughter, Cora, to join in the conversation. Make sure you listen to the very end when she squeezes in one last statement that every parent in recovery needs to hear.
Welcome to Through the Glass Recovery Podcast, where we believe that connection is the opposite of addiction, vulnerability is the antidote to shame, and that recovery isn't just rewarding, but it's also a lot of fun. We're your hosts, Steve and Julie. Listen as we get together with friends to shed light on the hard things, talk about the other side of addiction, and how we create a life so full, there's no space left for alcohol.
Before we jump into this episode, we just want to make sure you know that we have a private Facebook group, and we're ramping it up to make it a great place for you to get the support and connection that you need to be successful in your recovery. Come hang out with us, let us get the chance to know you, and join in the conversation. Search Through the Glass Recovery on Facebook groups or go to facebook.com/groups/Through the Glass Recovery. All right, welcome everybody to Through the Glass Recovery Podcast. This is episode 87. We are here to talk about talking to your kids about your sobriety and your recovery, because it's going to be really interesting. And we have a couple of our regulars here to share their experiences. So we're going to do our introductions, and we're going to start with Matt.
Always first. Yeah, I'm Matt. I am from Burnt Hills, New York, upstate, just south of Saratoga Springs. I am 14 months sober last Monday. I have two kids, a son who is 10 and a daughter who will be 7 in June. I guess the only thing I'd like to kind of share is how today is the 1-year anniversary from when I found you guys on Instagram. So, pretty cool that we're recording today.
It is.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, we get to record with you on special days. I love that.
Yeah.
It's super cool. And yeah, I think it's amazing that it's been a year and we've gotten to like really hang out and get to know you. It's been so much fun.
Yep.
So thanks for jumping in and being willing to do these with us now too. It's really cool.
Yep. Absolutely.
Always enjoy it.
Yeah. And Miss Rachel, I'm going to let you go next.
Hi, I am Rachel, aka Addict with Purpose. First of all, thank you guys so much for just inviting me to come on. This is a topic that's super close to home right now. So I'm grateful to be here. I've been sober 6 3/4 of a year. I am approaching 7 years. I'm super excited about that. My kiddo just turned 17 yesterday, which is really cool because today I get to just be present and a part of my kids' great experiences instead of me calling from a jail cell. So, I just love every opportunity I have to just be a mom and be a part of recovery and a good life.
Very cool. Yeah, it's absolutely a gift for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Grateful for you being here and being willing to chat about this. And not to put any pressure on her, but our third guest is really, really special to me. We've got my daughter here. We've got Cora here to talk about what it's like from a teenager's perspective. So do you want to introduce yourself, Cora?
I'm Julie's daughter. Like she said, I'm 16, almost 17, and obviously don't have a sober date, but we're just going to say 16 years because, why not? And I basically am a homeschooler and I train horses, or at least would like to start really training.
Oh, I think we can say you train horses.
I think you could say that.
Yeah, so happy to have you here. It means a lot to me that you're willing to do this. So thank you for being here.
That definitely means a lot to us. Should maybe I say that I have because of the topic, I'm going to say that I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old daughter. So I've got 2 littles. They're not quite into the double digits yet, but because of the topic we're going to talk about, that is going to be super relevant.
Definitely. Yep. Super cool. All right. So yeah, for the topic, when it comes to talking to our kids about our sobriety and what we're going through in our recovery journeys, it seems like it's hard to know the right way to handle it. Some people will tell you it's your journey and you need to keep it private. Others will tell you to share it all. In the end, of course, there's no right or wrong answer here, but we've gathered a group together to share their thoughts and experiences and hopefully shine some light if this is something that you are struggling with. So anybody is welcome to start and just let us know kind of what you've decided to do and how you've tackled it and how it's gone or what that's looked like for you.
I'll share just because this is something. So I have 2 kids. One's 15, one is 17. And I've had multiple different bouts of sobriety. This is, praise the Lord, the longest and hopefully the last. In the beginning, I didn't want to talk to my kids about it, but they were so young, right? When I was then. But this round of recovery, I've been really open and honest with that. Almost too open, probably. I mean, I'm sure there's some parents who would hear the things that I say and they might be like, this chick's insane. I mean, some parents might not want their kids coming to us if I knew what we talked about. But like, it is just a everyday open conversation with us because it's scary out there. Like, it's not like it was 20 years ago where kids were just like being introduced to smoking pot. Like, pot is laced with fentanyl today. And so for me, it's like we have got to, not talking about it didn't help me. I don't know if talking about it does help my kids, but we talk about that and sex a lot in this house.
Right. We're super open in our house too. And it wasn't always that way for the first few months. I didn't want anybody to know that I was sober. I don't know I know Andrew, my husband, didn't know that I had a drinking problem. Did you know I had a drinking problem, Cor?
I didn't know until that one night when the goats were up on Arnold's and you went to help me get them. And I was like, okay, there's something not right here. And then you went for a drive and
yeah.
That was the first time that
Yeah, so that's like the day that I wrecked the car. And yeah, but that was really close to the last time I ever drank. But yeah,
July 6th.
Wow, yeah. Good call.
She's great with dates.
It was right before fair.
Yeah, no, I know the date too, for sure. Like, it wasn't something that my family knew that I was struggling with for a really long time. It was at the very end, I completely fell apart, and that's when it became kind of apparent. But it took me probably a few months to even be honest about it after I quit. So it took me a couple months to quit after that rock bottom day. And then it took me a few more months to even sort of start talking about it. But now we're like 2.5 years in, and we talk about addiction and recovery super openly in this house.
Can I ask you a question, Julie?
Yeah.
So I think what your daughter just did is going to happen to me at some point. When she said July 6th, remembering the date, like, how did that make you feel? Because I know that there's been instances where my kids have seen things, not knowing what they are, and eventually they may not remember the date like that, but they're going to remember the time something happened and the question's going to come up. And I'm just kind of wondering, like, what you felt like when she said that, because, you know, I'm very good at remembering dates, and it's just one of those things that's just like, my son is very much the same way as me, and I know that is going to happen.
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. That's a really good question. I can already tell this is going to be a squirmy episode.
Squirmy,
for me.
yeah. I can tell.
No, it's good. So yeah, it was I remember the date too because we had county fair going on that week, which I mean I just added to the chaos of that week. But how did that feel? That felt, I don't know, there was like a little twinge of shame there, but I have also worked through a shit ton of shame relating to everything that happened. It's more just like, God, I wish that it hadn't gotten that bad. Like, I wish that I could have just stopped the day before that happened so it didn't have to get to that point. That point was the worst day in my life. That was the worst day in my oldest kid's life for sure. That day was the worst day in my marriage. It was devastating, and I hate that that day happened. And I wish I could go back and change all of it. I can't, and that day had to happen for me to get to where I am now. And I know that, and I can, that's how I cope with regret. And those moments where I'm like, oh, I wish I could take that back. Because if everything didn't happen exactly the way that it did, then I wouldn't be here where I'm at in a really healthy place and hopefully able to show up for my kid in the best way that I'm able to now. But yeah, that hurts. That stings to hear that for sure. And I think any parents, I think Steve's probably going to be lucky and your kids aren't going to remember anything shitty. But I think for the rest of us, that's just something that we have to deal with is hearing our kids remember those moments out loud. And I also think, and Corey, you can actually pipe in on this one if you want to. I think it's important that I just let you talk about it and be honest about it instead of trying to pretend like it never happened. There's nodding, a sort of nodding happening. She is squirming too right now.
No, I'm not. I feel bad now because I'm like, it didn't even occur to me that would make you feel bad.
That's okay.
It's totally okay.
That's good. It's like, that's really good to be able to talk about that stuff openly.
Yeah.
Like for me, so my day is February 4th. It was the day before like I got sober. You know, I fell in front of my kids. I don't remember any of it. But for those first few months of sobriety, this time getting sober, it was constantly like I could see this. My daughter was 5. I could see this fear. Like she thought something was going to happen to daddy again. And I know like I said, that question's going to come up. My son, he's seen a lot more, but I don't know if he is going to put it all together. But I know, like, I mean, I can remember just the concern they had for me those first few months. And I've been, you know, it's just another layer of this, of explaining to them, you know, the fact that we have, you know, alcoholism, we have a disease, and the multiple layers of it, right? This conversation. Because one of the first things I wrote down about this is like, this is not a one-time conversation with kids.
No.
You know, my two are roughly the same age as Steve's. You know, I have not had a conversation with them yet. I don't think it's the time yet. But as that question just shot to you, I know at some point the question's going to come, and I wanted to be prepared for it. So I've thought about this for a very long time, and you know, like I said, it's going to be multiple conversations. It's going to be very different each time. You know, as they get older. For the longest time while I was still drinking, I never had a concern about this. You know, they've never seen me drink. My daughter definitely. My son maybe, but he's gonna have to have a really good memory to remember that, because by the time that my alcoholism became an issue, you know, I was hiding it from people. I wasn't going to the fridge, opening a beer, or you know, anything like that. Never ordering at a restaurant, anything of that nature with it. So it's just going to be like interesting when that comes around. But yeah, because I didn't really ever think about it. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't think about it though. Because at some point,
because
it would have been.
Yeah, that's why.
Oh,
Well, because we're so wrapped up in our own stuff when we're drinking, we don't even think about other people. Not the way we should be.
I mean, I remember when, you know, first few months of sobriety, my son, like, this is as much as like he's ever said anything. Like, well, why aren't we stopping at the store before we go to practice? Or why didn't we stop there anymore? Or I remember one time, like, you know, I used to drink like the little shooters, and he'd be like, why aren't you drinking those things, you know, those little bottles before wherever we would go? You know, because I had to drink so much so I wouldn't start withdrawing. Like, that's where it was for me at the end. And it's like, oh, I don't need those anymore. You know, I would always say they were like energy shots, because I drink a lot of energy drinks and like I could play it off that way. But yeah, that's just going to be interesting when I feel like for me it's going to be
It's making Matt squirm right now.
Just
it
thinking
is.
about
This
it.
is this has been like a lot. Think about it. Well, okay, so I'll carry out to my next thing with this thing because you say that. So why it makes me nervous, and I don't want to take. Anyways, why it makes me nervous, right? Steven, you're able to relate to this very well. You see, you had 2 girls very close to like my daughter's age. And the last few months, I've noticed like the relationship with my daughter change. Like I am like this perfect person to her. Like it's daddy, 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 all this stuff, right? And this may be the first time that you have to, or I have to tell my kids that I'm not this perfect person. Even though I know that, but they don't.
You know they're going to love you more for it.
Right. And that's part of the other side of it. Like what it opens up is so much more. But it's like that's just kind of like one of those things. My parents are getting older and I see like they can do less than what they used to do. And I don't know if that's why some of this is really like extra layer to it for me. Because you start to see like that type of stuff. And it's like it just how the relationship changes. And like I said, I know the end is going to be much better, but it's just kind of like that first part is a lot to.
I've told my kids, right? Like I've had conversations with my kids about it because they've asked multiple times. When I first quit, I went to 4 meetings a week, and that was during bedtime. And so I couldn't put them to bed. So then they wondered, it's the little things that they notice, right? So I couldn't put them to bed. So then they asked me why I wasn't putting them to bed. And so I have to tell them something and give them a little bit of something. I didn't want to just lie to them. So daddy was getting help, right? So that was something. It was the truth. I was getting help, you know?
Right.
And as time goes on, they've asked more questions about, you know, what do I do, and like, why are you doing this? Like I'm making a reel, you know, why are you doing this? And it's because, I mean, they've been on reels of mine that where they say sober is better because it's something that I say around the house. And I want them to be able to understand and be able to ask me questions when they're ready to ask those questions and still feel comfortable with asking them and not feeling ashamed about asking me something. So anytime they've approached me with something, I've tried to really give them the space. It might not be, it's not like a detailed answer. I just said that daddy was really sick. And that's the truth. I was really sick. And I needed to do something different, and I needed to get help. And then a lot of the times I ask them a question, you know, what do you see? What are you thinking right now? And just to get more out of them, because I want them to, like I said, I want them to feel comfortable about saying sober and not being afraid to say alcoholic or anything along those lines. Like that needs to be, I feel like it's around here, part of their vocabulary, and that's okay. There's nothing to be ashamed about having that as part of your story. I don't think at all. It's opened the door for them to ask those questions when they feel comfortable, and they don't think any less of me. And I know they're 7 and 9. They're just happy I'm there.
Warranty. It's an energy someone gives off when their appliances and home systems are protected by an American Home Shield warranty. Don't worry, be warranty.
For 20% off plans, visit ahs.com/listen. See ahs.com/contracts for coverage details, including limit amounts, fees, limitations, and exclusions.
Jody Wilkinson here. We're so proud of our growing line of Acura SUVs. Legacy models like the MDX and RDX, or the all-new, all-electric ZDX. And now we're launching the new turbo-powered 2025 ADX all-wheel drive for just $38,350. For details, dial #250 and say Jody Wilkinson Acura.
Jody Wilkinson.
Downtown.
Acura.
1111 South Main.
So there's listening to what you asked, Matt, and Steve, because yours are littler. I think when our kids are little, they don't see our imperfections. They just see us as super mom and super dad, right? Cora could roll her eyes here at any moment now and be like, no, you were never perfect. But I strived to be a super mom, right? I never wanted my kids to know that I was having a hard time or struggling. And I will say that as soon as you stop showing up trying to be that, well, and when they're little, they should see you that way, but they're going to get older. They get to like 12, 13. They start like seeing other things going on outside of them instead of just their own little world. And they start paying attention to people and trying to figure out like that they just see more. And I think that happens around 12 and 13. And I think that is, at that age, it's okay for you to show up real and vulnerable and honest, because that's where the real relationship is going to happen. Because when your kids are little, they're just going to look up to you and they're going to think you're amazing and they're going to love everything about you. And when they start getting old enough to start looking for your flaws, you're better off just letting them see the flaws and talking about them, because that's where connection happens. And we know that from the recovery community. When we start talking about the hard stuff and our flaws and our failures and our struggles, that's where we connect. That opens up space for real connection. I think the same is true with our kids. I think that as soon as I stopped trying to hide everything and pretend like everything was great, that's when I started developing a relationship with Core, for sure.
I want to share too. So like when I got sober, my kids were babies, like they were 6 and 8 years old. And so like I just spent the last 7 years kind of healing myself. And I figured that as long I was like twisted in my head, like for me, as long as the kids didn't know what I was doing, it wasn't hurting them. And I'm hearing a lot of you guys say the same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the big old whammy 2 weeks ago. So my youngest is in therapy. She's 15 now. And the therapist came out to the car. And now, mind you, I have worked so hard the last like 6.5 years to really prove to my kids I wasn't going to go backwards. I was going to show up for every event. There was no more missed birthdays. There was no more where's mom. Like I have really proven to them that I'm not going to be that person anymore. So as they got older, we started, at 6 years old, you're not going to tell them I used to smoke crack, right? Yeah. I like Julie said, and they get into the teenage years, and now it's like, we need to talk about this because everybody's doing it in school, or they might be, and we start to educate them. I do. So my kid's therapist comes out to the car, and she's like, all right, Mom, we need you to come in. We had some breakthrough, and we need you to come into therapy next week. And I'm thinking, why do I have to come in? Right? Like I'm healed and I have proven to these guys that everything is wonderful. And we're now doing a 6-week session on how I've traumatized my kids. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, but I have healed and I have proven to them I'm okay. But just because I'm better doesn't mean the 4, 5, and 6-year-old children I traumatized during my drinking phase that I didn't even think they could comprehend, right? Yeah. They're so little. They remember it all. They remember the fighting between me and their dad. They remember all of it. And it's like now that they're older, they understand why mommy was sleeping all the time, why mommy always had a big cup that nobody was allowed to touch that tasted like crap. And I'm having to start to relive or hear. And I knew eventually I was going to have to hear what I did to hurt them. But like when you actually hear what you did, it's like, man, why did I do that? Because you don't know. So, I mean, it's like, I thought I skated past that part, y'all. And I did it. It is here and in the flesh. So like, welcome to 6.5 years. Your kids will now tell you how you destroyed their lives.
I just want to bring up one point here, because you've done a bunch of talking and a bunch of work on yourself. And I'm going to say talking because I think talking is super important, because you've shared all of these things with other people. You've worked through it all and they haven't. And
I know.
The reason why I say that is that's the importance of talking about stuff. For the past 6 years, you've shown up and showed them and showed them and showed them, and that's what's given the courage for them to finally have that breakthrough, and then you be able to show up, and even though you got to sit in your own crap, it's just, I guess the point is we sit in silence and we sit in pain.
Yeah.
And as soon as we start actually talking about it, even when it sucks, that's when we start to heal. And even though I've opened the door a little bit with my kids where they know that it's a thing, it's at least cracked the door open.
Yeah.
And we can celebrate it. Like we celebrated my 3 years sober. We had a cake and we had the thing, and they were all super excited. I know they don't entirely understand all of it. They don't have to. They do. The fact that they show up and they're proud of it, right? Even though they're 7 and 9, it says something that's something they're going to remember as a good thing, as opposed to if I was still drunk and we wouldn't be celebrating, 3 years sober. That's
so I think that they're proud of it thing is a big deal. For so many people, they're still hiding under the shame and the stigma and, oh my God, nobody can know that I have a problem or that I, whatever. And when we make it an open conversation in our homes, like we are, I think that's at least taking away the stigma a little bit from the next generation to make it something they can talk about. Core, I know, has like she's dating the sweetest boy in the whole world. And it did not very long into it. I think you told him, right? Something about it. What is it like for you, me just talking about it and even being open and honest about it on the internet? Is that like super weird, or what do you think? What's that like?
It's not weird to me at all. I honestly think that it's like cool and good, and I like the fact that you like help other people. Like people hearing stuff like this makes them realize that it's okay. And like I even told just some of my friends, I'm like, hey, you should go listen to this, just for no reason at all. Like they don't probably, but I have no problem with it. Or even like with my boyfriend, like Mom said, I've talked to him about the whole addict thing, and like we're teenagers, we're not addicted to anything like you guys, but like even just my phone. One time I told Oliver, my boyfriend, I was like, yeah, I'm addicted to my phone. And he's like, wait, you're an addict? And like, it's something that I'm obsessed with that I can't. And just being able to have conversations with people like that, I think having those conversations with Mom helped me be able to have those conversations with other people.
And it also helped you identify exactly, like be able to have that conversation, to be 16 years old and to be able to be like, this is hurting my life in a negative way, even if it's your phone, which is the truth, and be able to talk about it that's incredible. When I was 16, I couldn't say anything like that. I had nowhere close to the wherewithal or self-awareness.
But phones weren't around when you were my age.
I know. That is true. But I wasn't even that.
We had pagers.
Yeah, we had pagers. We had things. 16. I had a cell phone by the time I was like 18 or 19, something like that. But it didn't look anything like what we have now. It was like your flip phone. Right?
Yeah.
Do speed texting. I sent 4 words to my buddy and it took me half an hour.
Phones today are like
I hit 9 4 times.
Phones today are like little dopamine producing machines. They just are, and that's not something we had to deal with. So I think that's actually an important point to make too. That you trick your brain into wanting dopamine from whatever source it is. It doesn't matter what source it is, and your brain's going to keep wanting more dopamine from other sources or whatever it looks like. Just the awareness is so good, I think, for teenagers. Here's another question, just because I think it's fun to have Cora on here.
Unlock your future with an online degree from the University of Utah's U Online. We offer flexible master's, undergraduate, and certificate programs that empower you to access a world-class U of U education wherever life takes you. You can study from anywhere, We're the university for you, and we're here to support you. Make your dreams a reality at uonline.utah.edu.
You're free now. Free to fill your feed with impossibly chonky chonkers who chonk harder than you ever thought possible.
Cats, corgis, baby penguins, baby pandas, chunky baby pandas.
Free to make your smart devices do silly things. Free to open a world of remote work and a portal into Gametopia.
Who's the boss now?
Free to be everything you imagine, and then some. That's how it feels to have Quantum Fiber Internet. Quantum Fiber, your world unleashed. Learn more at quantumfiber.com. Limited availability, service in select locations only.
And those are like, Rachel, I'd be interested to hear what your kids have to say about this too, or if you've ever asked them. But how does it affect, like, how do you think it's going to affect you when you are at a party or you get offered a drink or drugs or whatever? Is the way that we talk about addiction in our home, do you think that will affect how you respond to that?
Definitely. Yes. So because I've seen what you being an alcoholic has done in the past, no offense, I don't even want to give myself the chance to become an addict, at least in some way it's really detrimental, because for whatever reason, the way that I am, I see people make mistakes and I learn from their mistakes before I have to make them. And being able to see that, I said, praise the Lord. It's good though. But like, as far as the whole, if I ever go to like a party or something, or someone offers me a drink or something, like there's even been things in the past where like, I have an older friend, she's like 21, and she's just offered me like a sip of something. Nothing crazy. She's not trying to get me drunk or anything, just a sip of something. I'm like, no, I won't do it. And she pushed a little, and I got no problem saying no, because I don't want to do that. And that will always be how I am. Like, I have come to the conclusion that when I'm older, like 21 and over, I will not drink at all unless it's like something small or light, because I just don't want to give myself the chance.
Good for you, sister. I would have been like, let me have 4 more. A sip. I don't want a sip. Give me 4 of the whole bottle. That's 16.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's probably good to hear, though. I know somebody who's got a teenager that she doesn't even want her, and I want to say she's like maybe 17. She doesn't even want her to know that she's in this battle, that she's going through this, that this is something that she's struggling with, and she wants to hide it from her kid. And I think it's so important to just be, especially at 16, 17, 18. These kids are basically adults. They need to know what's really going on and what real life is like, I think. I don't know, where are your kids at with that, Rachel? They're at that, drugs and alcohol are starting to show up in their lives, probably. Where are they at with that?
Want to save money and get a new car? Yeah, of course you do. You need to switch and save at Volkswagen Southtown. We'll lower your payment, give you top dollar for your trade, or chop your interest rate, guaranteed. Take home the all-new 2025 Tiguan or hop into a new Atlas. Our cars are so fun to drive, you feel like you're on the Autobahn. Say Auf Wiedersehen to high payments and high interest rates. Switch and save at Volkswagen Southtown.
Shop our incredible selection at VWSouthtown.com.
Financing through Wells Fargo. See dealer for details.
I don't want to talk about it.
They are polar opposites than your beautiful Cora. We had an incident at school. My older one told me she wants to be a bartender yesterday. And I'm like, why? You want to go ruin people's lives? You want to go sit there and destroy lives? Why would you want to do something that kills people? Don't you know what happened to me? Right?
That's not projecting anything.
Dude, right. She's like, I just want to be like your dad. And I'm like, and your dad should be protecting you, telling you shouldn't be a female in a bar, Jade. It was ridiculous. But Jade is not into drinking. She's not, I think she smoked pot once. She didn't like it. She's had a couple sips of alcohol. I think she's got the best little boyfriend right now who is such a nerd. He wants to just play Dungeons and Dragons and hang out with her and watch TV. So she's just not into it. I know. I'm like, well, I won. I'm
sharing this boyfriend.
Me too.
It is so nice when you win the boyfriend jackpot.
I'm telling you. And the other one, we're just, she knows that it's not good, but that's why we're doing this trauma work right now, because the generational cycle needs to end, because she knows it's bad, but she's like, peer pressure is also really hard. And she's so desperate to have friends that, so we're working on it. I wish, but like we had an incident where she got high at school and she didn't like it. And she called me right away and was like, I'm sorry, I'm stupid. Please come help me. But at least she knew that was safe. Yes. I probably, how I reacted may have made her not ever want to call me again. Because I got on the phone with everybody's parents and it caused a whole scene. But of course I did. But, it's hard because peer pressure is real too. And wanting to have friends and people, she doesn't want to do drugs, but she's like, I don't want to not have friends either. And my other kid smoked pot in the bathroom because the girl was like, come on, just do it. And so it's hard, but they know what's out there. I mean, they've got one parent that says it's okay to drink and another one saying, don't you remember what it does to people? And so it's complicated.
Being a teenager is really hard. So I get that. Yeah, the peer pressure thing is real, right? You just want to have friends. That's the most important thing when you are a teenager, is to feel included and like you belong somewhere. And I remember being that kid too. I was a really good kid until I was in my teens, and I definitely experimented with some stuff. I never really got that involved in any of it. But anything I did do is because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to feel like I was a part of whatever group. I just wanted to feel a part of any group, to be honest.
Yeah.
I didn't really care what group it was. I was just going to try to make them like me. That's a whole other, topic. But the other thing that came to mind when I was thinking about this topic, God forbid any of our children ever struggle with addiction. But I mean, it's pretty clear that this is a genetic thing, right? Like I did not grow up around people who drank. My parents did not. They drank occasionally. It was really minimal. I never saw them drunk. But my biological family, whom I never met and was never raised around, there's all kinds of different people struggling with alcoholism. And I feel like, that's probably, there's some genetics involved here, right? And so I think it's also very real that we have to talk to our kids about it, because it's something they could deal with too. It's something that they could be faced with. But if we're open about it and we're real and we're like, hey, this is this thing I'm doing and this is a part of my life, and show the good side too, right? Like recovery is actually kind of great in a lot of ways. I would hope that if either one of my kids ever ended up struggling with addiction, that they would feel safe enough and not feel the shame that I felt to be able to say, hey, so this is where I'm at. I need some help. Can you help me? And I would hope that for all of your guys' kids too, when they're growing up. I know for Matt and Steve, your guys' kids are a lot littler yet, but who knows what the future holds. I would hope though that these open conversations would create a safe space for them to go to. I suffered in silence for the longest time. I knew I had a problem for probably 6 or 8 years. I knew I had a problem and there was no way in hell I was going to tell anybody about it or ask for help. So hopefully if our kids ever do end up faced with this, that they'll be able to ask for help sooner rather than later. That would be probably my biggest hope in the open conversations. If we can't stop them from doing it, right? Rachel, you're proving that with what you've experienced, and who knows what's going to happen with anybody's kids. But if we can provide that space and show them that it's possible and that it's not scary and it's not something to be ashamed of, I think there's a lot of value in that.
Just keeping that door open, right? Even if if you're cracking it at that young of an age, and not being afraid to talk about just sobriety in general and recovery in general. And I think for me, when I talk about that, they at least can ask a question. I don't have to tell them what it's all about and get into the nitty-gritty detail, because they're too young. The nitty-gritty detail isn't something that's necessary right now. But what I do get to do is still show up, and it might not be about recovery or sobriety, but if I at least include them in the celebration and make them a part of the new lifestyle, the new daddy, this is what daddy does to take care of himself, then at least I'm modeling something to them and giving it a name so they can connect the two and really, at least, I have a problem, there's a thing here that solves it. And at least there's something to grab onto rather than nothing at all, and then they can ask a question about it. That to me is really important, because just like you, Rachel, you want to give them that best chance and prove to them that you are, healed and good to go and all of that. And part of my healing is being able to show up for them if they need to heal too.
Yeah.
I think Rachel brought up a good point about having parents with different. Her parents were cool with her as a teenager drinking, like bought, supplied it for them in the house. Like it was an acceptable thing. So I think it's important for those situations. I mean, we used to be on the same page, honestly, as we're having this discussion here, I don't even know if we're on the same page anymore. I remember when the kids were young, I was adamant on educating our children about this stuff, because I knew the chaos that was going on in my head, and she hadn't experienced everything as bad. I hadn't experienced it as bad as it had gotten right at that point. But it's a conversation now that we're having this here. It's like, I probably should talk to her and see what her thoughts are on it. In the end, I take responsibility, though, in my opinion, for this conversation, because it's what I went through. Actually, at one point, I remember we were in an argument. I forget. I don't have to be honest. I don't remember if it was early sobriety or right at the tail end of when I was drinking. But she threatened me with telling the kids about things Daddy had done. And it goes back also to we've done all this work on ourselves and other people haven't done anything. And it's like when she said that, I'm just like, I got mad, angry, all these things. But I told her, so that's not your spot to tell, the kids and this stuff. Yes, you experienced bad things, you lived through it, but the addiction part, or at least my story of the addiction part, is my story to share. And, that's very important to me. And I think, though, like I said, just clicked to me, like, that is, though, we're still parents. We might not be together in a relationship anymore, but we are these kids' parents, and that's a important thing, I think, to send this the same message, or at least show that we respect each other's views with it, even though we may not agree. For acknowledge them, not even respect it, but acknowledge it. But also another thing I wanted to add in here. So, I've been to inpatient treatment 3 times. They also offer. The last place I went was Cairn in Pennsylvania, and they offer an education program for kids. So that's just another thing that, they used to do it virtually. Now it's only in person. So that was always another thing where it's like, oh, I got this. I got somebody else to take care of my responsibility on this one. But they have it for different levels. So, there's another way, depending on what people do for getting sober, that may be out there to help as well. That I think is important to explore too, because if you're not comfortable with having the conversation, it's good to have the other options out there as well.
Definitely. I know we're going to get close to wrapping this up pretty quick, and I know Cora has to go pretty soon too. But there's a couple things I want to throw in here. First, I'm going to ask Cora a question. Matt was talking about how do you respond when your kid asks you a question or brings up something about when you were drinking. As a kid, how would you hope that I would respond? What would be a helpful, good way for a parent to respond? If you were like, hey, there's this thing I remember, what happened, or this hurt me, or whatever, what would be the best way for a parent to respond? I'm just curious what you think.
Honesty.
Yeah.
Not really beating around the bush or trying to hide anything, just being open and upfront. Like, there's not really anything that I can think of that I would personally ask you that's like, hey, what about this? Especially because we do that a lot. So it's not like I have these built up questions or anything that I don't want to ask. But especially just because, like, since you got comfortable talking about it, I can just ask you things. And it's not weird. I don't feel like maybe I shouldn't ask because she'll get mad. Just don't get mad. Be understanding. They want to know what was going on. They're curious. They want to, like, I can even see, like, thinking that something was their fault. Like, if they ask, like, was this ever my fault? No. And if it was, it was. But, like, if it's not, make sure they know it's not their fault or whatnot. Just.
I think she nails it right there.
Yeah, I know. I think
she absolutely nails it. The being honest part. I think if you're not honest about it, all you end up doing is invalidating their experience, and that's not fair to them. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying you have to tell the whole story. And I'm going to wrap it up now. But that's not saying you have to tell the whole story, everything. You don't have to like just dump all of the things, but the question is the question, and I think it's okay to answer that question honestly. You could tell it's a squirmy experience. It's a squirmy experience because, like any other thing, if we've done something wrong or someone calls us out on something, it's gonna squirm, it's gonna hurt, it's gonna be uncomfortable. But on the other side of that, even opening the door, and you listen to Cora, and Julie's been sober for 2.5 years, she's put a lot of effort into that, and Cora's put a lot of effort into that relationship as it's grown. It doesn't start out clean. It starts out rocky, and it starts out ugly, and it starts out messy, because that's where it was already a mess. So I think regardless of whenever our kids really want to talk to us, it's fearful. I know it's a scary experience, but it's also worthwhile. Mm-hmm. Even if it hurts. So I hope our listeners got a lot of value out of this topic, and I hope that when your kids ask questions that you find the courage to at least acknowledge where they were at in your experience, because I think that's super, super important. So I want to say thank you, Matt. Thank you. What, Julie?
I think, Cora, do you have something else to say?
Yeah, there's one thing that I've been like kind of thinking this whole time. It's just kind of like a reassurance thing, because I can see, like, as a parent, not being sure you want to talk to your kids about it because it might be a sensitive subject. You're not sure how they'll take it. When the first time I realized that Mom was drunk, I didn't know he had a drinking problem, but I knew that there was something not right for months after. Mom, this might hurt a little. Sorry.
Okay.
If she would get mad or stressed or upset, I would go out to the vehicles. Because of where we live, we just leave the keys in the vehicle. I would go out to the vehicles and take all the keys because I was scared of something else happening, especially when it was just me and her, or just me and my sister. I didn't want something to happen without my dad. Thankfully, he was there when something happened. But when she started talking about it, and I don't really remember exactly when that was, but knowing that she was getting help, I don't know why I put it in air quotes, but basically that's what it is. When she was figuring it out, getting sober, I knew that stuff like that wouldn't happen again. It helped me a lot to know that, because then I wasn't as stressed out about, like, is she going to do something stupid? Am I going to have to worry about being the adult in this situation? When she was talking about it, I just knew that stuff was going to be okay and stuff like that wouldn't happen again. So there's reassurance. It's helpful to talk about it because then we know it's going to be okay.
What a great example.
Mm-hmm.
Like, real life story, great example. Thank you for sharing that, Cora, because that's a great way to show how useful even talking about getting help was a stress relief for you. And so often when we're in early recovery, especially from my own experience, I still wasn't looking at how I was affecting everyone else because I was way too concerned about what the heck I was going to be doing to keep myself from drinking or to start this whole process. So the fact that even at like 2 months, you started feeling relief of that, I think that's really a cool experience to share.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So thank you, Matt. Thank you, Rachel. And thank you, Cora, for having the courage to show up and talk with us all here on the podcast. It's really special to have you on here tonight. So thank you, everyone, for your thoughts and your time and your experiences.
Thank you.
We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please, please, please remember to rate and review us on whatever platform you use. It's an easy, free way to help us spread our podcast to others that are needing to hear these conversations. Thanks so much for being here with us, and we'll see you next week when we have a very special conversation about dealing with grief in recovery.
Unlock your future with an online degree from the University of Utah's U Online. We offer flexible master's, undergraduate, and certificate programs that empower you to access a world-class U of U education wherever life takes you. You can study from anywhere. We're the university for you, and we're here to support you. Make your dreams a reality at uonline.utah.edu.
Check out the new turbo-powered 2025 Acura ADX SUV, only $38,350. Offer details, dial pound 250 and say, Jody Wilkinson Acura. Jody Wilkinson Acura, downtown.